Welcome to the Pixar Playbook, my new series about finding patterns and formulas in Pixar movies. What differentiates Pixar and Disney? This is a huge question. I plan to make a few videos on this topic, but what I want to talk about now is, in my opinion, the most prominent difference. There's a concept in marketing called the blue ocean strategy, and it relates to these two companies in a very interesting way. And disclaimer, I'm not a big-time marketing person, but as I understand this marketing concept, the idea here is that there are red oceans and there are blue oceans. A red ocean means blood in the water. It means lots of other predators fighting over lots of prey, lots of competition. And then a blue ocean means no other predators. It's just you and a sea full of prey, very little competition. The way this idea applies to the story industry, in my opinion, is that you can make an action movie, and it's going to be like all other action movies. It's going to have to compete in the red ocean of every other action movie. Or you can make a rom-com that's going to get thrown into the red ocean of all other rom-coms. And people will hear about your movie and they'll be like, I've seen rom-coms before, nothing new here. Or, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of action movies, I watch them all the time, but I know what I like. If I want this experience, then I'm just gonna watch Big Trouble in Little China again. No reason to engage with this new thing. So you can do your red ocean movies and go up against all that competition, or you can make a movie about a rat chef. And no one will be able to say, oh, I've seen that plenty of times, or oh, I'll stick to the version of that genre that I like. No, there is no rat chef genre. There's only Ratatouille. And it's not just that it's new, it's that if you want this experience, you have to go to Ratatouille and only Ratatouille. Pixar is all in on blue oceans in this way. There are other ways, but this is Pixar's. Pixar aims to show you stories that you have never seen before. The idea of a story about the daily lives of toys when you are not around to play with them, that was a totally new idea. You have never seen a story about the personified emotions of a teenage girl. You have never seen a story about a dead soul teaming up with an unborn soul in the afterlife. You have seen monsters before, but you have never seen monsters like this, with their own world and their own corporate culture. You have seen a house before, but you've never seen one that does this. These ideas were developed with a focus on stuff that we have never seen before, and if you want these experiences, you have to go to Pixar, because you will not find them anywhere else. And then you look at Disney, and Disney is specifically telling old stories. They are very intentionally telling stories you have heard before. The fairy tales, the classics, the tales as old as time. It's princesses, it's princes, it's true love, it's happily ever after. That's something that they do again and again and again. And that's because Disney is a red ocean company, which they can be because they are so huge. With Disney, you are signing up for a familiar experience. You're signing up for a classic experience, something the world has loved and valued for ages that you can find elsewhere, but the elsewhere is mostly just other classic Disney movies because they do it best. So both blue ocean and red ocean can totally work. Both make sense in their own realms. They serve important needs of their own. But now, all that said, maybe it's not so simple. Because the question is, where does the idea stop and the packaging begin? Yes, Pixar is 100% about telling new feeling stories, but new stories? It's not like these movies are art house or experimental in the types of plot structures and conventions they use. Ratatouille is about someone who is told he cannot achieve his dreams because of who he is, and that he finds a way to try anyway. That is Rudy, that's tons of movies. Finding Nemo also isn't a new story. It's about a parent trying to rescue their child. We have seen that 1,000 times. Cars, this kind of Last Samurai and that whole genre. The Incredibles is a development of a massive genre, obviously. So much of it is so familiar you could compare it to Watchmen and any number of superhero subversions. Or you look at the characters in Monsters, Inc. and Toy Story and Soul and Inside Out and Up, and you find that these movies are full of familiar personalities. So new stories? Not exactly. It's also old stories in new packages in a way. Which makes sense. You think about when Pixar started, 3D animation was new and they wanted the stories to feel new. They didn't want to be tied down to the past. They wanted to differentiate themselves from the red ocean that they could have been lumped in with, which was Disney. And you compare that to Disney when they started and what they were facing, when animation as a whole was new and animated feature films were something they were inventing. And you can understand how they basically wanted to come off as like, okay, don't freak out about how new this whole medium is. This is not something weird and new that's gonna corrupt your kids. This is a next marvelous step in continuing cultural traditions that we all love. That sense of safety and that kind of safety was very important to Disney from the start. So my point is really that both the classic and the new done well are selling points in different ways for different audiences. And both companies realize that and capitalized. Now you look at Pixar and it is sort of a red ocean company because it is big enough now, and that has changed some of the types of stories that it tells. When they were at the heights of their first peak of success, they tried Brave as a Pixar version of the Disney princess fairy tale flavored story, but I think the direction they move more towards lately is sequels, which is obviously a very red ocean thing. I think the more interesting one is the cultural stories, which I think is a great midpoint between the new, never seen it before because it's an underrepresented culture. There hasn't been a movie like Turning Red before or Coco, and then also the familiar and the classic because it also is is about people's traditional cultures. All this said, I do think Pixar has still stuck to its core blue ocean identity of striving to give you new and unique story experiences, even if the plots and characters themselves are classic. And while Disney has branched out somewhat, a lot of the times it's stumbled have been because of the challenges of swimming in red oceans, just not being differentiated enough. So blue is really where you want to be swimming long term. Subscribe. I hope you are enjoying the Pixar content. We got some IRL community schneetups going on this summer. Sign up for the newsletter, link in the description in the comments to keep updated about that. I'll be sending one out tomorrow morning with some more details, especially for the LA meetup, which is coming very soon. RSVP for that one if you have not already. Also, I feel like I should just put this out there. The Bear, any interest in the Bear content? Thinking about making some of that since season 5 is premiering soon. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching.